I'm a Wario. I'm gonna win at all cost.
Final say reviews. Final say reviews. Fans, for the set today, we have the beautiful Sabrina's Jinx. And for a little bit of fun, we have a marble. So I hope that you're liking that set until I get more money from YouTube for the official set that I'm going to have. I wanted to start off this video by telling you this very cool thing I received in my YouTube mail. This cool message. The guy, he said, your introduction, you know, when I say final say reviews. And listen, I'm not necessarily a big cuss word user, but he said, your introduction is badass. So I just thought that was too great not to share. And I want to say thank you, TigerBlood97. Now, if I look a little red, a little sweaty, just got done running a couple of miles to prepare myself to do this video because it's been a little while, and as you know, I get a little nervous, so a lot of times I prepare myself by running a mile or two or doing some type of strenuous aerobic exercise. Now this video, we're going to be looking at icebergs, the big iceberg theory. There's this new trend going around, and I think I'm one of the first people to really make a video about it. There's a new thing going around called the iceberg theory. It's where you break something down, a topic, like let's say you did the topic of Bowser, the Bowser iceberg. You would start at the tip with very apparent facts like Bowser wears a shell. But then as you get deeper, the facts get more obscure and they get a lot creepier as you go down the iceberg. So you might have on the final lowest, creepiest level effect like Bowser uses the spikes on his shell to serrate somebody's arm as if they are a dagger. The iceberg theory, very cool way to show you all the known and unknown facts, all the apparent and obscure facts about a certain topic. So once I saw this theory come out, I knew I had to capitalize on it. It's going to be a little bit different than my review videos so far, but I think that a lot of you will really like it. A little bit about icebergs. Icebergs, if you remember, the biggest planet ever built, the Titanic, biggest ship ever built, the Titanic, was destroyed by an iceberg. Now science, they have all the technology necessary to lift every iceberg out of the ocean. But the thing is, just like with the iceberg theory, as you go down, things get creepier. Scientists don't want to go and do that because as they get deeper, they'll start seeing that creature with the weird mouth and the sharp teeth and the light bulb coming out of its head. So that's why icebergs even still exist in the ocean. So I hope that little part was educational, and I hope you're ready for a great iceberg theory video. At the very tip of the iceberg, we find out that Wario's nose is actually a pomegranate. Very similar in shade and color, as well as touch. Wario's nose is undoubtedly a pomegranate. The next fact we come across at the top level of the iceberg is that Wario is based on a character named Spike from the 1985 video game Wrecking Crew. Very similar in body shape and a very similar facial structure. I think that we can really put our money on it, and it will be a safe bet that he is based on the character Spike from the 1985 video game Wrecking Crew. Another quick fact, we're still at the top, most apparent level of the iceberg. Wario was actually intended to be German rather than Italian. Wow, now that's a big fact. We are now getting a little bit lower on the iceberg. Not too low yet because I don't want to scare all of my viewers, but a little lower. And in this lower level, we start off with Wario having grandiose narcissism. We see throughout his games and throughout the comic book material that Wario is often very vain and only cares about money and what advances him in life. Next up on the iceberg, we find out that Wario is addicted to sweets. Perhaps he requires the adrenaline rush of sweets to go on his adventures and to complete his objectives. This guy loves eating sweets. Next up on this second level of the iceberg, we have the fact that Wario, many psychologists believe, is a sociopath. Laughing after scaring and hurting others, laughing after turning nests into a trophy. This guy is apathetic to the point that many psychologists would classify him as a sociopath. Wow, this guy's nuts. The last factoid we'll see on this second level of the iceberg is that Wario's primary color is yellow, opposite on the RBY color scheme of Waluigi's purple. Whoa, I guess it's true what they say. Opposites attract. We are now descending a level deeper on the iceberg. Things are about to get even more obscure and creepier. I urge the faint of heart to turn back now. The first fact we see on this new level of the iceberg, Wario is part of a biker gang. He often rides his motorcycle out and about. Staying on this same level of the iceberg, we now see that Wario is not actually simple-minded, but a genius. He's often depicted as being simple-minded or a bumbling buffoon in the series, and the fans' perception of him often says that he is indeed a bumbling buffoon. But when you actually study him more closely, you see that he is actually a great tactician and genius, having designed racetracks and a teleporter. Another theory coming up on this level of the iceberg, Wario used to be a goat. He can eat inanimate objects in the same fashion as a goat would do. Bah, Wario, you are one crazy dude. Next up on this wild, kooky, and creepy level of the iceberg, we look at the question, did Wario hypnotize Mario? In Super Mario Land 2, 6 Golden Coins, we find out that Wario is indeed a skilled hypnotist. It has long been theorized that Princess Peach is actually in love with Bowser and stays in the castle of her own volition. At one point, Mario knew this, but at some point, Wario hypnotized Mario, so Mario would continue on these fruitless missions, basically to strip the limelight away from himself. So Mario will focus on Bowser rather than Wario's misdeeds. Something in the corner is watching you. Could be a gargoyle, could be a bird. Prepare to be highly disturbed. You're now at the bottom of the iceberg. Well, if any of you have managed to make it this far, I commend you. Things have certainly got very creepy in the iceberg, and they are going to get creepier still now that we are on the bottom. The first thing we see at the bottom of the iceberg is that Toad fears Wario because Wario wants to eat him. We saw them fight in Wario's woods. We often see them on a baseball team together, and Toad is outright scared of Wario. In a previous fact, we saw that Wario will eat just about anything, so it is not beyond comprehension that he would like to rid himself of his old nemesis Toad by putting him in his stomach. Yummy, that's a good tasting shroom. Moving on to another factoid at the bottom of the iceberg, one of Wario's favorite colors is green. Now this made it to the bottom of the iceberg because people often associate Wario with his predominant yellow, and the color green has often been associated with things like ogres and the Loch Ness Monster. It's not a color people like to think about because it creeps them out. So when you find out that Wario, one of his favorite colors is green, of course you're going to take pause and be a little frightened. But hey, we are at the bottom of the iceberg. Now, we have a very creepy rumor that has made its way to the bottom of the iceberg. However, it does have some credence giving support to it, so that is why I have chosen to include it. Wario's personality and the progression of his personality over the series almost caused a high-up developer to quit working at Nintendo. Wario has a very depraved mind, as we saw from the sociopath point earlier. He often wiggles his bottom, and he emits flatulence, and he is involved in much crude toilet humor. Combine this with his vanity and his narcissism, and you can see why it would give pause to some developers that they don't want to be associated with a character like that. So yes, Wario almost caused, at least this is speculation, that he almost caused a high-up developer to quit. Wow, Wario, you've gotta get it under control. We are now arriving at the last few facts on the bottom of the iceberg, the creepiest and most obscure facts about Wario you will ever come across. Now we look at the factoid that women love Wario's mustache. Wario has a very peculiar mustache, the way it curves, the way it zigzags. A lot of people can't get enough of it. NPCs in the games, as well as real-life fan clubs, all going crazy over Wario's mustache. Wow, Wario, maybe we should have called you Romeo. We are now coming upon the final two theories on the Wario Iceberg. The second to last one, we look at the theory that Wario works with the villains of the Mario universe. This would see Wario going outside of his normal anti-hero role to work hand in hand with some of the villains of the Mario universe. We see evidence of this in the fact that King Bob-omb and Mr. Chili, two of the villains from Mario's universe, say that Wario's mustache is worthy while insulting Mario and Luigi's. Think about it. Why would they compliment Wario's mustache and insult Mario and Luigi if they did not have at least some type of affinity for Wario? We have now arrived at the final, most creepy, most obscure speculation about Wario on the entire Wario Iceberg. Wario is secretly in love with Donkey Kong. Donkey Kong often has an adversarial relationship with Mario and many of the heroes of the Mario universe, but in the baseball games, we see Wario and Donkey Kong posing together. They both specialize in strength, and Donkey Kong even goes in for a fist pump with Wario, and when Wario tries to oblige, Donkey Kong pounds him into the ground. But it is obvious from Wario's facial expression going in for the fist bump that he was elated and over the moon that this big gorilla would want to give him a fist bump. So I think we see a very big bromance brewing between Wario and Donkey Kong, and I would appreciate it if Nintendo would explore that relationship further in the newer games. Well, that's all for the Wario Iceberg. I hope you all enjoyed.